Kingsbury. I work with CRM Science. We're a consulting company based out of King of Prussia, near Philly in PA. But we really have lab coders all over the country. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for about 10 years. But before that, I was actually a calculus teacher at Drexel University. I taught calculus for 7 years. So what that means is that at the end of this, there's a quiz, and it's on all the calculus that you remember from school. So I hope you're ready. All right. So what are quick actions? I'm asking you because I don't know. I really should have figured this out before I got up here and decided to give a talk about quick actions. No, but really, I think it's very difficult to answer this question because quick actions are so broad that they really don't fall into one simple sentence, right? I mean, you have object-specific quick actions, which act on a single record, on a single object. But even that's not enough, right? Because you also have global quick actions, which can send an email, or maybe they create a task. So you have these two types of quick actions, so you can't even say they just always act on a single record, right? For this session, I'm just going to focus on object-specific quick actions and talk about those specifically. So, what are some types of object-specific quick actions? Maybe you could create a record. Say you're on an account and you want to create a contact from that account. You can just create a record create quick action from your account page, put it on the account page. You can create a contact using that. There's record update. Maybe there's 3 fields on the opportunity that are always getting updated. So you might have a record update action, and you put that on the opportunity page. So not everyone has to go searching for those fields all the time. Then you have flow actions. And flow actions are getting into a little more config-based development, but you could launch a flow action from a button. And that flow action could maybe have a wizard-like feature where you launch the flow and you have a series of steps that you're creating. So why then would you need Lightning Web Component quick actions? Well, you might need a more enhanced UI, or maybe the use case is so complex that you maybe could handle it in flow, but it might be too difficult, right? So you might want to look into Lightning Web Component quick actions if you have a use case that you don't think Flow can easily work with. So I thought of a few reasons why you might want to use LWC quick actions. One is you're actually going to write less code than if you just create a Lightning Web Component, because as we'll see, Lightning Web Component quick actions, they sometimes have 0 HTML code. So you won't even have to write any HTML. You'll just be writing the JavaScript, or maybe the Apex involved. So another reason is if you need to build a modal, it's very easy to do that with a screen quick action. It's one of the easiest ways to build a modal. If you look at the Lightning design system, they have a modal there, but it is kind of complex. So if you need sort of just one component to throw in, and you need to build that modal, you might decide to use a screen quick action. Another reason I thought is if I build my Lightning Web Component and I put it on the page, it's just going to sit there if I'm not using it, right? It's just going to be there, and maybe people will use it, maybe they won't. But you're going to have your Lightning Web Component quick action, which is hidden behind a button, and you only need to look at that component when you click the button and open it. So that might be another reason. If you want to have less screen real estate, if you have too much going on the record page, you might decide that I want to put my LWC inside a button, hide it in the button, and just keep it there so that I don't have to look at it unless I'm going to use it, right? So there's 2 types of Lightning Web Component quick actions. The first I want to talk about is headless quick actions. Headless quick actions are used in a way that you don't have to input anything. All you have to do for a headless quick action is click a button. So I click my button and then the code runs. So any JavaScript you wrote, that's just going to run immediately if you have a headless quick action. A use case where I think this is great is if anyone has ever had to build a web service that runs on one record, that might be when you want to use a headless quick action. Say I want to get the stock price for today. I want to run it on my account. I click a button and the code runs. It calls out to a web service and it brings back that data and updates that account. Right? I don't need to input anything. I just need the most up-to-date value. So I'm going to use a headless quick action in that case. And then we have screen quick actions, which may require user input, and it opens a modal, and whatever you want to put in that modal is what the user's going to input. One common use case I would say for a screen quick action is an "Are you sure" button. If you don't want to necessarily always run the code, or maybe you want to make sure that you want to run that code for sure, you might say, "Are you sure? Yes, no," and put that inside your screen quick action, and that way you at least have an out. If no, I didn't mean to do that. So you might have a yes or no button, and you put that in your screen quick action. That way it could do the same thing as a headless quick action, but you at least have some sort of confirmation from the user. All right. So I want to look at a specific use case here. I want to look at a situation where we have our company and we want to notify a Slack group, and the group maybe has a bunch of sales users in it, and we want to say, okay, whenever an account is deemed hot, whatever that means to you, we want to send a message, "This account is red hot," to those users, and we want to click a button to send that message to the Slack channel. Also, we want to provide a link to the account in Slack. So how would we do that? Well, we could use we can use a headless quick action for that. Now, we don't have any input for a headless quick action, so we actually want to add a toast to indicate that the code actually ran. And maybe that toast is a success toast, or it could be an error toast. But we want to have some feedback given to the user to indicate that my JavaScript ran, right? So we're actually going to use a headless quick action. Very important for headless quick actions, you want to make sure in the meta XML file that you set the action type to action. That's going to be for headless only. You're always going to need, for any either screen or headless quick actions, you're going to need that lightning record action target config, but you want to make sure that for a headless quick action, it's set to action. All right, so inside my headless quick action, everything that I want to run is inside that API invoke method. So once you put in the API invoke method, you're going to call this Apex method, send Slack message. It takes two parameters. The record ID, that's something that you already have because you've built a Lightning Web Component. So you can just import in that record ID for the record you're working on. The other one, the message, is actually currently hard-coded. We're just going to hard-code it for now so that we can say, okay, this is the message that I want to send to my Slack users. And so everything inside, after I run this code, is just a toast telling me, okay, was it successful or was there an error? So I import the toast event, and I either set it to success or failure, depending on whether the Apex was successful. All right, so this is the Apex controller, and this has a lot going on. It's OR enabled, right, because we need to call it from an LWC. Line 1 is actually a SOQL query on an object called message destination. This object will only be available to you if you've installed the Salesforce for Slack package. It's free, it's on AppExchange, and you will need to download this in order for this code to run, because these are objects that come with the package. So what is that? What is a message destination? It's basically a record that's telling you where is my Slack instance, how do I connect that to my Salesforce. So it's a record that you set up during the setup process, and it's a connection between your Slack and your current Salesforce org. I just named that record DF22 Slack. You can name it whatever you want. I'm just giving it a name so that I can query it and know what it is. Always put a limit at the end of your SQL queries. I don't know how many times I've done a code review and I have to send it back because someone didn't put limit something at the end of their SQL query. All right, so let's look at line 14, the post message. That's actually a global action. Has anyone used global actions before? Excuse me, invocable and global. It's invocable, and where can you use invocable methods? Well, I would say one common place is flow. You can call an invocable method from a flow. You can call it from process builder, but that's not a great way to do things anymore. Sort of a bad word these days, process builder. Anyway, you can still call it from a flow, and we can also call it from Apex because this is actually a global method. This is behind the scenes telling Salesforce, hey, we got a message. I'm building the message. I'm going to post that to my Slack channel. Okay. So, all right. So I click my Notify Owner button, my new quick action. And then I actually get, because I didn't type in anything, I just want to get a success toast on the screen, letting everyone know that it went through and that I actually sent the message. Once I check in Slack, I actually get a message in Slack with the message that I defined. This account is red hot. The universal containers in blue, that's a link to the record. So if you're logged into Salesforce and you click that, you're actually going to be taken to the record. Okay? So that'll just appear in your Slack channel. So stakeholders love this. How do we build on it? They want the same functionality, but now they want to actually customize the message. So instead of this account is red hot, I want to be able to type in whatever I want into a modal and have that run the same code, send the same message, but this time I tell Salesforce what that message is. So button opens the modal, user enters a message, and then we want to make sure the modal closes. So we're going to use a screen quick action. Now this, on line 2, is the most important component in the entire session, the lightning quick action panel. Why is it so important? Because it opens a modal, and that's all you need to code to open a modal. Now, if you look on LDS, Lightning Design System, and you look for modals, it's like this wall of text, right? And you don't want to copy that every time you have a modal. And then you have to think about, all right, how do I close the modal? How do I show or hide it, right? So I want to be sure that all those things are available to me. And I don't have to think about any of that if I use Lightning Quick Action Panel, because it already builds a modal for you. Whatever you put inside the Lightning Quick Action Panel gets put inside the modal. So if I want to close the modal, that's already built in to this Lightning Quick Action Panel. I have a slot for a footer. That's just so I have a nicer UI for the buttons, right? So we can add a slot, and I have a cancel button, and I have my submit button, which calls the web service. Okay. Different metadata file this time. We need screen action instead of just action. So that's one of the main differences. If you're using a screen quick action, make sure that you go into the metadata file and set that to screen action. Okay, let's look at the JavaScript for a second. Very similar, we're still calling this Apex method, send Slack message, but the main difference is I'm adding these close, where is it? These ones, close action screen event, and I do it twice. The close action screen event closes your modal for you. So whenever you want the modal to actually close, you need to call that event to make sure that the modal closes. So I have it in two places, right? I have it in the cancel method. So if I hit cancel on my modal, I want the modal to close. And then I have it at the bottom after all the Apex runs. So notice I don't have any if statement there. That's because if it succeeds or fails, I still want to close the modal and take the user back to the record page. So we always want to call the close action screen event no matter what action we take. If we hit cancel, or if we successfully run the code, or if there's an error in the code, either way, I want to maybe have a different toast, but I still want to call that close action screen event. All right, so here's what it ends up looking like. I have my modal, I click a button and the modal opens, I type in whatever I want to type in, and I hit send, and then that gets sent to the channel. So let's actually see how that works. All right, so I have my notify owner button. That was the headless quick action. So that had no user input. I just click it and it sends a message to my Slack channel. And it says this account is red hot. Now, what if I want to do the custom notification? So I want to say, hello, Dreamforce. So I send that message. Lets me know that the message sent. I don't know until I look in Slack that anyone got the message, so I have to go back to Slack and showed up, right? Okay, so you can have all your salespeople in this channel now, and anyone who goes to an account, if they click that button, they can either just send a basic message and it sends them right to that account, or you can have them type in something that you want specifically about that account. Maybe you can call out someone in the channel, say, hey, Joe, look at this account for a second. It's really important that you look at it. Either way, it goes to your Slack channel. I just defined the DF22 Slack channel in my org. You can create and remove Slack channels pretty much at will. So that's pretty much it. Let me get back to my slides. All right, so to recap, headless quick actions have no user input. You do want to add a success or failure toast. You don't have to write any HTML for headless quick actions. Screen quick actions use lightning quick action handle. Remember that? That's a very important component to use. Screen quick actions open a modal, and they require user input. And I put some instructions for building a quick action right here. Just go to quick actions new, select the LWC you want, and add it to the page layout. That's pretty much it. I have some resources here. These are blog posts written by our company, CRM Science. I also have a link to the documentation for Salesforce, and I have a link to my GitHub, which has all the code that you've seen today there. Give me some stars, please.
Chambers Pro.
All right, and remember to share your feedback for the session. I will be around a bit if you have any questions. Thank you.